All right, here we are on task number 6, Facebook users. This is an exponential function, but we do not have one function that we can use. We have to use parts of two other ones. So the first one that we talked about is for, where's it at? October 4th, we reached 1 billion. And we have another part where on October 24th, we had 800 million Facebook users. And we are charged to find a formula for the total number of users in billions, T number of days after January 1st of 2012. And they talk about January 1st is going to be T equals 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1, which gives me back my initial population. All right, so let's go first. This is going to be my October 4th, 2012 side. Okay, and we said how many people total at that time? On October 4th? 1 billion. So we're doing this in billions. Okay, so 1 billion is equal to, and let me just put this up here to help remind us what it is we're doing. 1 billion is equal to, do we know the initial amount? No, we don't. So I'm going to leave that as P for right now. Okay, and then our growth factor, I always have to think about it a little bit. 1, are we increasing or decreasing? Is growth or decay? Growth. So it's plus. And do we know what our rate is? No. So I'm going to put that as R. And it is going to be, I did tell you what day it was. So what day of the year was it, or how are we counting it?
2012.
277?
Yeah.
Okay. 277. Now, this is 1 plus R, but that's a little too much. So I'm going to call it B. Because if I find B, I can find R, right? So that's one less step. So 1 billion equals whatever the initial amount is times the growth factor to the 277th power. Okay? And in the other corner, we have April in wearing the blue and gold trunks. No. April 24th, 2012. We have how many people that we are talking about at that time?
800 million.
800 million. Now, if I'm doing this in terms of billions, how do I write 800 million in billions?
800, comma, 00, comma, 00, comma, 00, comma.
No.
Oh, 0, 0, 0.
0.8 billion. Yes. That is 800 million as in terms of billions. Okay? Equals. Do we know what the initial amount is here? No, we don't. We don't know the rate either. I'm just going to put it as B because that's my growth factor. I know I don't have the rate, but I know once I find the growth factor, I can subtract 1. And the number of days until April 24th, 114. Okay. So we don't have the initial amounts. We don't have the growth factors for either month, right? However, what can I do with these? What do you suppose I could do with these to try to figure this out? Find the difference between them. Why would I do that? Brian. Don't do that. No. I don't want to find the difference between them. That's in millions. Anyone? What if I were to take this and multiply it by 1.25? If I multiply 1.25 times 0.8, what am I going to get? Well, just multiply it together and see what you come up with. 1.25 times 0.8. You think? It's 1.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding. And this is equal to 1. So if I want them to both equal the same amount, then I should be able to set everything on the right-hand side equal to each other. So, but before I do that, I need to multiply this side by 1.25 also. Okay? So I'm trying to make this equal to 1. And because this is equal to 1, now I can say these are the same. All right, so now I am going to set, let me just make sure, P times B to the 277th power. Yes, you should write this down. Is equal to, I had to multiply this other side by 1.25 times PB to the 1/14th power. You're like, great. All right. So we need to either try to solve, we can't solve for both variables at the same time. We need to try to solve for either P, the initial amount, or B, which is my growth factor. Anybody have any suggestions?
Find the square root of the
Okay, we're going to get there. We're going to get there very soon. But what if I divide by P?
get B by itself.
What's that going to do over here? Yeah, so we're going to get rid of the P's for a second, and we're going to just deal with the numbers that we have, which is B to the 277th equals 1.25 times B to the 1/14th. Now, I will tell you, this is a lot. This is a lot of math. This is 2 missing variables at a time. You are not going to have to solve for this. However, I think most of you can kind of follow, especially after we multiplied by 1.25, how we're doing this. Okay? All right. So once I divide by P, I get this. And I am, well, what would you do next? What do you think you would do next? Do you remember how to divide exponents or powers?
No.
No. All right. So if I divide this by B to the 1/14th power, that means I have to do the same thing on the other side, right? So these are going to cancel out. I get 1.25 is equal to, when you have 2 powers that have the same base, you subtract the exponents. So this is B to the 277 minus 114. Which is, does anybody got it? 163. B to the 163 is equal to 1.25. Check my math. Is 163 right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're trying to solve for B. So what would I do here? Well, this is, if I had b squared, I would take the square root, right? But I don't have b squared, I have b to the 1/63rd. So I'm going to take the 1/63rd root. So that means I'm taking the 1/63rd root of 1.25. So the 1/63rd power, 1/63rd root cancel out. B is equal to, and I think I told you how to do this on your calculators yesterday, didn't I? You take 163 first, because that is the root you want to find, and you do second and the caret button because that has the x root, and then you put 1.25, hit enter, and that is your B value. So B is 1.00136. Is that what you guys got? Did everybody try it? Okay. That is my growth factor. Growth factor. All right. We know the rate. Do we need to know the rate? Actually, we don't. But now we need to go back and figure out what P is. Okay? So I'm going to substitute this back in for one of my equations. I'm going to do this one. This is my B because it's got 1. All right? So I'm going to say 1 is equal to, is yellow doesn't show up. That's not too bad. 1 is equal to P times 1.00136 to the 277th power. We need to solve for P. You can either figure out what this is or divide by that to the 277th power, which means you need to divide 1 by that to the 277th power. Those cancel out. We're almost there, guys. Almost there. P is equal to, okay. So 1 divided by, I'm going to do parentheses, 1.00136 raised in parentheses to the 277th power. Please work, please work. Yay! It did. What'd you get? 0.686 2 something, so we're going to say 3. 0.6863. Okay? So now, going back, we've got our P value, we've got our B value. Here's what we're supposed to find. Find a formula for the total number of Facebook users in T days. So we just need to substitute what we have found. N, so this works for any number of days. N is equal to P, which is 0.6863, times B, which is 1.00136, to the T power. And again, this is a lot, but I think you can kind of figure it out, and I will have this up, and the video will be up too. You can figure this out once you get past multiplying by 1.25. Keep going down? Okay. All right. Thank you. You might want to take a picture of this. And I am recording, so. All right. Okay. Now, let's turn to page, I think it's task 8. Okay, so the formulas, we got that. It says page 128. Is it page 128? Okay. This one, this is important, okay? This is important. So take a look at this. The figure shows the graphs of exponential functions, okay? Exponential functions. So we have f of x equals c times 3 to the x power. And we have g of x is equal to d times 2 to the x power. We want to know which is greater, c or d. What is c and d representing in each of these exponential functions? Yes, the initial amount, right? They're at the beginning, so they are showing initial amount. Now, I want you just to look at these. There is no calculating. So I need you to visually look at them and think about what they are representing. Okay? One is showing some coefficient times 3 to the x power. One is showing another coefficient times 2 to the x power. When you think about that, which one is going to increase faster? Does everybody agree with that? The one with a base of 3, is that going to increase faster if they are both to the same exponent? Like this would be, say it's 2, say x is 2. So 3 squared would be 9, 2 squared would be 4. So which one of these lines is showing 3 to the x power? The red line or the blue line? The red line. Does everybody understand that? Because it is going up more quickly. So that means this one belongs to f of x equals c times 3 to the x power, because it is growing more quickly. Growing more quickly. Going up faster. Which means the other one in blue is g of x, which is d times 2 to the x power, okay? Because it has a 2, and it's smaller than 3, it's not growing as quickly. So you should just be able to figure that out by looking at them, not growing as quickly. Now, we still haven't answered the final question though. It says, which is greater, C or D? Which is greater, C or D? So C goes with the red line, and D is the initial amount of the blue line. Guys, I want your eyes up here. You need to be looking. So Lee, what do you think? Which is greater, C or D, and how do we know? Why?
Because it passes the, or wait, no. It passes the other one sooner.
It passes the other one sooner. What do you mean other one? The other line?
Yeah.
It passes it sooner than what though? I mean, they intersect. They definitely intersect right here.
It's steeper.
Okay, red is steeper, that I will give you that, but I think that's more on account of the fact that this is 3, a base of 3 rather than a base of 2.
Are they starting on the same point?
Are they what?
Are they supposed to start on the same point?
Well, what are those initial points? What are my initial points, guys? If I look at these equations, what are my initial points? C and D, right? So which one, so one of these is C and which one is D?
I don't remember.
Which one is the red line start at?
Slower.
Lower.
Is the-
Okay, so that means it is starting at, look at its equation. F of x equals C times 3 to the x. What's the initial amount? C. So red is C. And D is the initial amount for the blue line. So D is this amount right here. So which one is greater, C or D? D, because it's higher up on the y-axis. Okay? So D is greater than C because it's higher on the y-axis. Does that make sense to you now? It is also the initial amounts in front of each equation, okay? In front of each function. But as you look back at it, the blue line definitely starts higher, and the blue line goes with D times 2 to the x power, so D has to be greater, okay? So you don't always have to do a whole bunch of algebra to figure them out. Sometimes you just have to look and think about it and say what makes sense here, okay? Any questions on this second one? Seriously, any questions? Okay.
Hold on. What does that say? Yeah.
D is greater than C.
No. Like at the bottom where G of X and all that.
G of x equals D times 2 to the x power.
Okay, done.
And announcements, make sure you catch up on any late or missing work. Late or missing work. Which reminds me, I have, let me turn this